Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 8 Part 3 based on novel. So let's start. When Lindong's words resounded across the platform, a soft whoosh could be heard coming from all directions. Quite a few Desolate Hall disciples were stunned as Lindong's straightforwardness had completely exceeded their expectations. He sure is a bold and charismatic fellow. A few of the direct disciples were observing this moment play out, while a hint of admiration surfaced in their eyes. Tong Chuan could not stomach what happened today, and the one way he could settle this was not complex, which was to fight. Strength was an entry pass at any place, and it was no exception within the Desolate Hall. Tong Chuan actually understood that even after he personally taught Lindong a lesson, it was still nigh impossible to change the fact that he would receive the Pill River head immersion. Since Lindong had made contributions towards the Dao sect, the two heads of the Desolate Hall would not withdraw his reward just because of his opposition. The reason he continued to do so was, firstly, he was unable to swallow this down, and secondly he thought that he could press down the invincible air of this new disciple. This was to let him know that although he was the champion of the 100 Empire War, he would still have to obediently withdraw the air of arrogance brought by this title. However, what caused Tong Chuan to feel surprised was that Lindong actually turned from a guest into a host, and before allowing him to explain fully, he had already sent out his challenge. Due to his actions, regardless of whether he ended up winning or losing, at the very least, his courage had caused quite a few people to hold him in high esteem. The matter of humiliation would not be further mentioned. Regardless, Lindong was still a new member of the Desolate Hall. Losing to a senior disciple like Tong Chuan would not be considered as humiliating. At an area that was quite far from the Pill River, two shadows were floating in the air, with their gazes aimed towards the Pill River. One of them was the vice head of the Desolate Hall, Wu Dao, while the other one was an old man dressed in white, with a head full of white hair, making him appearing quite senile. However, the occasional glow that passed by swiftly indicated that he was a senior of uncommon background. This old man dressed in white was none other than the present head of the Desolate Hall, Chen Zhen. This brat sure has a unique way of doing things, Wu Dao said while grinning and staring at the Pill River platform from far away. Seems like you truly hold Lindong in high regard, said the old man dressed in white softly before giving a faint smile. His talent coupled with his disposition would make him one of the top picks and a very good seedling. If he is groomed properly, I feel that he would be able to become the most outstanding person within the younger generation members of Desolate Hall. Wu Dao gently caressed his beard, before contemplating for a while and said, actually, even if he was compared to those monstrous talents of the Sky Hall, he might not fall in a disadvantageous position. There aren't many youngsters that could make you utter such words. Desolate Hall Master Chen Zhen gave a laugh while he stared far into the distance, before nodding his head and said, there are quite a few secrets within that brat's body, however that does not matter to us. The current him is already the disciple of our Dao sect. As long as he does not do anything that would bring harm to the sect, he would forever be a disciple of our Dao sect. Who do you think would have a greater chance of victory between them? Chen Zhen asked as he looked towards Wu Dao. Tong Chuan will likely suffer. Wu Dao grinned as he replied. Thinking back, in the ancient battlefield, even Cao Yu was forced into a sorry state by Lindong. If one tried to judge Lindong's prowess from his appearance alone, one would be truly mistaken. Oh. Chen Zhen raised his eyebrows before looking at the platform with gusto and said with a faint voice, I want to see just how outstanding is that little fellow that you hold in high regard. You are definitely courageous. Tong Chuan stared at the skinny-looking youth in front of him, his eyes narrowing and flames of anger could be faintly seen within them. Thinking about it, this was the first time that he had been treated so haughtily by a new disciple. As such, he felt no need to be polite and took a step forward, before his wild Yuan power erupted just like a thunderstorm. This level of fluctuation was a level stronger than the Qian Yuan dynasty Qin Qian. On the account that you are my junior, I'll not bully you. After 10 rounds, if you have not lost, Tong Chuan will not say a single word on the matter of the Pill River head immersion. Do you dare to accept this challenge? Tong Chuan's low and deep voice, carried by his vigorous Yuan power, resounded across the platform akin to the rumbling of thunder. Senior, please carry on. I am afraid there might not be a need for 10 rounds. Lindong's body faintly trembled as yuan power within his body started to surge. Although it was not as fearsome as that of Tong Chuan, it immediately dispelled the pressure that was being emanated by Tong Chuan. Having courage is a good thing. However, one must know when not to go too far. Since you are that haughty, all right then, let me test out what ability do you, the champion of the 100 Empire War, have. Tong Chuan gave a cold snort. As the flames of anger in his eyes grew larger, he felt that if this new disciple was not taken care of today, there would be no place for him in the future. Boom! Tong Chuan gripped his large hand, before a radiant golden light erupted from his body and directly transformed into a large golden blade. A frightening and astonishing fluctuation was being emitted by that large blade. Bang bang! Tong Chuan took a step forwards, as the large golden blade in his hand gave a sudden tremble. Instantly, 10 blade rays exploded out, which caused even the air to be sliced apart, creating incisive howling noises that reverberated sharply. Facing Tong Chuan's attack, Lindong merely extended his palms and with a grasp, green light seemingly erupted from his palms and directly morphed in a green-colored scale shield. The blade slashes sliced heavily on the green-colored scale shield. However, it only caused some sparks and did not achieve any noticeable results. After easily blocking Tong Chuan's probing attack, Lindong did not consider the need of continuing such useless probing. After experiencing bout after bout of vicious battles in the ancient battlefield, he did not enjoy these soft probing attacks. Immediately, his body rushed forward explosively. As he gripped his palm, a black iron seal appeared within his palms. Boom! With the appearance of the black iron symbol, it caused violent winds to stir up, before turning into a vast and enormous shadow that viciously pressed down on Tong Chuan, crushing him beneath it. Heavenly Soul Treasure. Tong Chuan was startled by the sudden appearance of the black metal symbol, causing a serious glow to flash past his eyes, before swiftly retreating, while his hands moved lightning fast to break the symbol. Demonic Desolation Fist. When the seal started to fluctuate, Tong Chuan sent a fist rumbling forward. Dreadful yuan power started to condense on his fist, before finally emitting a desolate aura akin to a great desolation and viciously smashed against the black iron symbol that was oppressing him. Bang! A loud and clear sound resounded out as the black iron symbol was literally smashed by Tong Chuan's fist, before a frightening amount of power started to radiate outwards, causing even the air to start twisting. After seeing this scene, it caused Liu Bai and the rest's facial expressions to change. It seems like he was indeed worthy of being a direct disciple of Desolate Hall. In fact, the person in front of them was likely more powerful than Qin Tian. Although you have a heavenly soul treasure, don't assume that it is something that you can rely on, shouted Tong Chuan as he dashed forward explosively. His arm suddenly trembled and unleashed the same vicious fist as before. However, this time around, the howling noise blotted out the whole sky. This grade of boundless eruption of power had everyone change their countenance. Facing the incoming fist shade whose howling filled the skies, Lindong did not retreat and instead advanced forward. With a movement of his body, he landed on top of the black iron symbol that was flying upside down. After stabilizing himself, with a single thought, vigorous yuan power, mental energy and devouring force rapidly entered the archaic formation within his body. Rumble. Following the unison of the three different energies within the archaic formation, the yuan power that was gushing out of Lindong turned into a mysterious grayish-black color. It faintly emitted the strength of destruction, which was several times stronger than his previous yuan power. That light. On the platform, there were numerous Desolate Hall disciples who were watching this scene. Upon seeing that light, their vision all hardened as they simultaneously discovered the sudden birth of a fearsome and mysterious energy within Lindong's body. When the three sources of energy fused together, Lindong's power rose instantly. His aura was not weaker than the 6 yuan nirvana stage of Tong Chuan. Dragon Gate. Lindong stomped his feet, causing the boundless grayish-black air to directly integrate with the black iron symbol with lightning fast speed. At the same time, the black-colored dragon spirit, which was residing in the iron symbol, opened its dragon eyes, causing a sinister aura to rapidly fill the surrounding air. As more and more grayish-black energy integrated with the iron symbol, the dragon spirit took to the skies, as a vigorous strength started to emanate from the ice-cold-looking black dragon scales that fully covered its humongous body. He actually summoned the dragon spirit. When the humongous dragon spirit appeared, there were many surprised shrieks coming from the platform, as they were all astonished by Lindong's move. Roar! The dragon spirit faced the heavens and roared, instantaneously showing off its anger, while a fearsome amount of energy formed a humongous arcing shield, causing cracks and fractures to appear on the platform below. Bang bang bang! The large Desolation fist after image filled the air with vicious fist winds as it directly landed on the body of the dragon spirit and exploded outwards. However, it was unable to halt the momentum of the dragon spirit. With the unison of the three energies within his body and coupled with the might of a heavenly soul treasure, Lindong's current strength could be compared favorably to a 6-yuan nirvana stage expert. Hence, he was obviously not weaker compared to Tong Chuan. It was at this moment that Tong Chuan finally realized. Immediately, his facial expression turned exceptionally serious. He tried his best to restrain the slight fluttering of his heart by taking a deep breath. He slowly raised the golden large blade in his hands, however there was a faint pale white tint present on his face. Ring! In contrast to the paleness on his face, the golden large blade in his hand started to violently tremble. The golden light was mysteriously withdrawn and on the golden light appeared faint and subtle cracks. From afar, it looked like a vast piece of parched land, as a desolate aura started to emanate. This light. After seeing the light, the expression on those Desolate Hall disciples' faces changed, as they could recognize the martial art that Tong Chuan was executing. One roar after another started to resound from the platform as Tong Chuan suddenly raised his head, promptly, his hand seemingly transformed into an earth-desolating blade. As he suddenly sliced down, an icy cold sound, which carried the air of desolation, started to spread from his mouth. Desolation blade. The large parched blade suddenly hacked downwards. At that moment, the air around Tong Chuan disappeared at a shocking rate. A barren-like ripple scattered around the place. Tong Cheng's blade appeared to be ordinary, but the frightening strength contained within was something that only Lindong, who had been targeted by the blade glow, could sense. He is indeed worthy of being a direct disciple of the Desolate Hall. Lindong looked at the barren space around Tong Cheng. His eyes were quite solemn. However, he had no intention of withdrawing. A thought passed through his mind and the black dragon spirit that was whizzing down grew increasingly powerful. As it bared its fangs and waved its claws, a frightening energy shockwave caused the cracked lines on the platform to become increasingly dense. Tong Chuan's eyes were icy cold as he looked at the black dragon that was being rapidly growing in his eyes. A low cry was suddenly emitted. Immediately, a blade glow that was filled with a barren aura suddenly shot out from his parched large blade. The blade glow was extremely mighty. It was a couple of dozen feet large as it swiftly flashed through the air in a lightning-like manner, just like a meteorite. After which, it heavily slammed onto the black dragon spirit with a shocking momentum. Clang! A clear, sharp, loud sound suddenly sounded out in the sky. Soon after, an extremely wild and violent energy attack suddenly erupted from the sky. The energy attack spread apart. Those people nearby hurriedly pulled back. Numerous golden light flickered on the flat platform in order to protect themselves from the eroding energy wind. While they resisted, the crowd's attention remained focused on mid-air. The Desolate Blade was a fairly powerful martial arts from the Desolate Hall. Since it was currently used by Tong Chuan's 6-yuan nirvana stage strength, its might became even stronger. Although Lindong was able to summon a dragon spirit, he might not be able to block such a sharp blade. The blade glow heavily hacked onto the head of the dragon spirit in front of everyone's eyes. That unique barren aura was actually wildly eroding the body of the dragon spirit. That originally somewhat icy cool black dragon scale also swiftly shriveled under the erosion from the desolate aura. Tong Chuan also sensed the increasingly weak dragon spirit due to the erosion of the barren aura. The corner of his mouth was immediately lifted into a cold smile. The desolate blade in his hand once again hacked furiously downwards. Desolate blade slaying dragon spirit. Another incomparably wild blade glow attack appeared. This time around, the black dragon spirit immediately cracked, forming numerous cracked lines in the process. That dragon spirit is unable to endure any longer. Everyone quietly shook their heads when they saw this scene. It seemed that the dragon spirit that Lindong had summoned was unable to endure the might of the Desolate blade. The Desolate Hall's martial art is quite unique. That barren aura that they had obtained from training is quite strong. Little Martin looked at this scene in the sky and nodded. Is Lindong able to endure it? Liu Bai's and Mo Ling's group involuntarily asked. Lindong was basically representing all of the newly joined disciples. If he was to be defeated today, it was likely that none of them would have a good time in the future. Relax, it is not so easy to deal with Lindong. Little Martin spoke with a faint smile. Mo Ling and the rest quietly sighed in relief after hearing Little Martin spoke in this manner. At this moment, they could tell that Little Martin seemed to be the most unfathomable person in the group. Hence, since he had spoken in this manner, it seems like Lindong would not be in deep trouble. While they were conversing, that enormous dragon spirit in the sky also began to crack apart inch by inch. Clearly, it had already reached its limit. Is it over? Quite a number of people contemplated this thought in their hearts when they saw this scene. However, they did not have any intention of mocking the other member. It was already quite an accomplishment for Lindong, who was merely a newcomer, to force Tong Chuan to use the Desolate blade. Tong Chuan also raised his head and looked at the collapsing dragon spirit. His face revealed a smile. However, his eyes suddenly shrunk before his smile could widen. Bang! The cracking dragon spirit suddenly exploded at this moment. Soon after, a green light directly rushed out from within. After which, it flashed downwards at a shocking speed and appeared in front of Tong Chuan. With the help of the light reflection, everyone could clearly see that Lindong was within the green light. At this moment, Lindong's body was covered with green dragon scales that appeared like a layer of scale armor. Green dragon arms. Lindong's eyes were icy cold within the green light. A low roar sounded within his heart. Immediately, his right hand instantly wiggled and swelled. Within a short instant, it had transformed into an enormous dragon arms. A terrifying strength erupted and shook the space until it became a little distorted. Bang! Lindong did not hesitate after the green dragon arms took shape. His fists blew apart the air immediately before he rushed towards Tong Chuan in an incomparably fearsome manner. A terrifying energy pounced over in a substance-like manner. Immediately, even Tong Chuan's 6-yuan Nirvana stage golden body felt a kind of piercing pain. His eyes quickly turned exceptionally solemn. That was because Lindong's punch posed a serious threat to him. Hack! The parched large blade within Tong Cheng's hand was lifted high up. After which, it once again hacked downwards with great force. That strange force was pushed to its limits at this moment. Clang! The dragon arms and Desolate blade directly collided together at this moment. Immediately, an indescribable wild and violent strength swept apart. Cracked lines also spread in a lightning-like manner on the ground. Traces of dark grey force rapidly flowed out from the Desolate blade wherever the fist made contact with it. It swiftly flowed out from the Desolate blade. After which, they eroded Lindong's dragon arms from continuously. Under the erosion from that force, Lindong's dragon arms actually showed signs of shriveling. You have just joined the Desolate Hall. Allow this senior to teach you just how frightening the desolate force of the Desolate Hall is. Tong Chuan looked at this scene, laughed coldly and said, Desolate force, huh? Lindong focused his eyes slightly. That strange energy seemed able to turn everything into a barren state and its eroding force was extremely strong. The dragon spirit from earlier had ended up losing much of its defenses because of the eroding force, which resulted in it being destroyed with just a blade strike. Other people might feel troublesome to deal with this kind of force, but unfortunately, Lindong was not one of them. Devour! A thought passed through Lindong's mind before a powerful devouring force erupted from his devouring ancestral symbol. Traces of black lines quietly spread over Lindong's dragon hands and swallowed all of the desolate force that invaded Lindong's body. Tong Chuan's expression drastically changed the moment he realized that his desolate force was being swallowed. Clearly, he had also sensed something. Your force is useless against me. Lindong raised his head slightly and smiled towards Tong Chuan, whose face had changed drastically. His dragon hands were immediately tightly clenched. Surging force spluttered out like tide water from an extreme distance. Bang! The dragon fist violently collided onto the desolate blade. A wild and violent strength poured out in an extremely peremptory manner, ignoring that mysterious desolate force. Crack! When this wild and violent strength seeped out, numerous crack lines immediately appeared on the desolate blade. After which, the crack lines widened and directly burst apart under the stunned gazes of Tong Chuan and many other Desolate Hall's disciples. Boom! After the desolate blade was shattered, the remaining shock wind swept towards Tong Chuan in a storm-like manner. Immediately, it sent the latter flying and he was only able to regain his footing after he haphazardly retreated for a dozen oversteps. The platform became much quieter after Tong Chuan's body stabilized in a miserable manner. The many disciples of the Desolate Hall faced each other before quietly inhaling a breath of cold air. Lindong had actually shattered the desolate blade? Being disciples of the Desolate Hall, they were clearly aware of just how powerful the desolate blade was. This was a martial art that the disciples of the Desolate Hall must learn, and it was their preferred offensive strike. However, it was now shattered by just a single punch from Lindong. When everyone watched Lindong, who had halted his attack in midair, they were aware that the victor of this spar was already decided. Lindong's swelled dragon's arm wiggled rapidly. After which, they transformed into ordinary hands. He did not went overboard and chase after his opponent. This was the Dao sect, not the ancient battlefield. The person in front of him was also his senior and not a life or death enemy. Therefore, the rule in the ancient battlefield, where one must kill or completely cripple the other party, was not applicable here. Lindong raised his head after his hands returned to normal. He cupped his hands towards Tong Chuan in the distance and softly said, "Senior Tong Chuan, thanks for letting me win." Tong Chuan was defeated. The atmosphere on the platform above the Pill River quieted down. There was some dense shock that still remained in the eyes of quite a number of people. Clearly, the end results had exceeded their expectations. Tong Chuan might not be considered to the elite amongst the Desolate Hall disciples, but he was fairly famous amongst the direct disciples. Hence, these Desolate Hall's disciples were filled with shock when they saw this result. This 100 Empire War Champion name really contains some real substance to it. That's right, Lindong has just joined the Desolate Hall. If he is allowed to train here for some time, it is not impossible for him to even catch up with Senior Pangtong and the others. Looks like our Desolate Hall is going to produce another outstanding person. Ha ha, it's just as well. In this way, it will boost the reputation of our Desolate Hall. Otherwise, we might end up being firmly suppressed by the other three halls during the annual hall competition. Based on what I know, there are people amongst the top disciples of the other three halls who have already begun to study the three great mysterious scriptures. On the other hand, our Desolate Hall. There's no choice. What can we do since our great desolation scripture is so damn abnormally difficult? Just endure it. As long as someone successfully understands the Great Desolation Scripture, our Desolate Hall will definitely obtain the #1 spot. Difficult. Private conversations spread from the flat platform. The eyes, which those disciples from the Desolate Hall looked at Lindong with, no longer had a playful tinge. Instead, a seriousness replaced it. Although Lindong was a new disciple, his strength was sufficient for them to take him seriously. At this moment, Tong Chuan's expression changed in a volatile fashion for a moment before he sighed helplessly. Although Lindong's Yuan power mastery had only reached the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage, he was able to match up to a 6 Yuan Nirvana stage expert when his strength was combined with his equally powerful mental energy. Moreover, Lindong's powerful physical body caused Tong Chuan to feel an even greater fear in his body. The punch from earlier allowed him to understand that if Lindong truly intended to kill him, he would definitely not only appear this miserable on the surface, even though he had the protection of the Nirvana golden body. Junior Lindong, I admire you. With this strength of yours, I have nothing to say if it is your turn for the Pill River head immersion. Tong Chuan cupped his hands towards Lindong and said. Lindong hurriedly cupped his hands together. Tong Tron was quite a good loser. He did not end up becoming angry from embarrassment just because he lost. This caused Lindong to form a good impression of the former. Often, the enemies that Lindong met within the ancient battlefield continued to plot against each other and would use any means to achieve their objectives. It could be said to be quite a scheming place. Compared to that place, Desolate Hall was undoubtedly much more peaceful and quieter. Although there was competition, its intensity was much more subdued compared to the ancient battlefield. Liu Bai's group quietly sighed in relief within their hearts after seeing Tong Tron adopt a softer stance. It seemed like Lindong's actions had successfully established a deterrent effect. Ha ha, this place is quite lively. A laughter was transmitted from the sky just when Liu Bai and the rest were signing in relief. After which, two figures appeared on the platform and smiling looked at everyone. These disciples greet the two hall chiefs. All the disciples from the Desolate Hall immediately revealed a respectful expression and spoke in unison when these two figures appeared. Wu Dao smilingly waved his hand. He glanced at Lindong and teasingly said, "Since it is your turn, you should begin the Pill River head immersion. Also, this is the Hall Chief of the Desolate Hall, Chenjun." Lindong involuntarily curled his mouth when seeing that smiling face of Wu Dao. This old fellow had clearly arrived a long while ago. However, he did not show himself. His intention was to wait for Lindong to personally act and resolve this issue. This disciple Lindong greets Hall Chief. Lindong ignored Wu Dao and turned his eyes towards the white-haired old man beside the latter. The latter also had a face full of smiles and he appeared quite friendly. However, with the help of his mental energy, Lindong was able to sense a vast and mighty yuan power ripple that was even more majestic than Wu Dao's. This ripple was just like the ocean. It was deep and unfathomable. This is Hall Chief Chenjun and he has likely reached the advanced mysterious life stage level. Lindong was speechless as he quietly noted to himself. After the Nirvana stage was the mysterious life and death stage. This stage is divided into the mysterious life stage and the mysterious death stage. Each stage is further divided into 3 levels. Initial, Advanced, Perfect. Chenjun should be at the level of the advanced mysterious life stage. If he takes one more step, he would be able to reach the perfect mysterious life stage and form an undying body. The life stage of the mysterious life and death stage. For the life stage, it will give rise to the life chi. After it fuses with the yuan power, it will cause the yuan power within one's body to grow and become boundless like the oceans. Usually, as long as one steps into the mysterious life and death stage, one would be able to heal oneself regardless of what terrible physical injuries one suffered, unless one's yuan spirit was badly damaged. As the life chi within one's physical body becomes increasingly majestic, it could even raise a skeleton of the dead. Once one's strength reached the perfect mysterious life stage, one would be able to regenerate one's limbs. From a certain point of view, it could be considered as an undead body. One's physical body at that time would truly be terrifying. If the life chi of the mysterious life stage can allow one to possess an extremely powerful physical body, the death chi of the mysterious death stage would enable those who possess it to have an extremely terrifying destructive strength with just the raise of his hand. Everything ceased to exist under the death chi. Of course, this level was really a little too distant to the current Lindong. Even in this eastern Xian region, one would be considered as the elite as long as one could step into the mysterious life stage. As for the mysterious death stage, someone at this level would be an elder rank big shot even within the Dao sect and the other super sects. Chenjun glanced at the young man in front, who had a respectful expression. His sharp eyes enabled him to sense the ferocity that was hidden under his friendly eyes. This hidden ferocity enabled him to understand that the young man in front of him definitely hid a wolf in his bones. This wolf was usually hidden. However, if someone truly touched it, those ferocious teeth would definitely be bared. No wonder he is able to rely on his low-rank empire origin to come out on top within the ancient battlefield. Chenjun sighed softly in his heart. He had a clear understanding of the situation in the ancient battlefield. At the same time, he also clearly understood just how much effort someone from a low-rank empire had to put in order to become the champion of the 100 Empire War. This young person in front of him had definitely experienced many things. A trace of unknown emotion involuntarily rose within Chen Zhen's heart when he thought of this point. He had also experienced the ancient battlefield a very long time ago, and he merely came from a middle-rank empire. This young person in front of him was no different from him back then. It was just that this person was even more persistent than him. You will be the direct disciple of the Desolate Hall in the future. Just treat this as your home. Chen Zhen's old and wrinkled face had a faint but genuine smile on it. He gently extended his shriveled hand and rubbed Lindong's head. Lindong was stunned for a moment because of Chen Zhen's action. He looked at the elderly face behind him before moving his lips a little. However, he did not say anything. All he did was slowly lower his head. Deep within his heart, he began to feel a rare emotion towards this place that he had just joined. This emotion would usually only appear within that little Lin family in Qingyang town in the past. Although this emotion was extremely slight, only those who knew Lindong well would be able to know that it was not an easy matter to get his usual cautious self to reveal such an emotion. This old fellow, little Martin, raised his eyebrows slightly. However, there was a gentle arc on his handsome face. Lindong was not someone who was easily moved by a sentence or anyone's actions. As such, this current scene was clearly not a bad start. Before one is integrated into a sect, one must at least approve of it. Haha, begin the Pill River head immersion. Little fellow, normally speaking, one would obtain more benefits the longer one endures. What level you can reach will be entirely dependent on your ability. Chen Zhen smiled slightly. He withdrew his rough hand before looking towards Wu Dao. The two of them moved and they rushed from the flat platform and charged into that majestic Pill River. Lindong, enter the Pill River. Lindong withdrew his emotion after hearing Wu Dao's low cry. He nodded slightly. After which, his toes pressed on the platform and his body rushed out. Finally, he charged into the Pill River with a surging nirvana chi in front of the many envious eyes. This video will end here.